And that breeze will be particularly strong on Sunday. The chance of gales around exposed western and northern coasts, and an area of rain moves in from the west, not quite reaching the east of Scotland or eastern England, but some heavy downpours towards the west, along with a gusty breeze. And then the area of low pressure responsible for that sticks around into the start of next week, bringing an unsettled period.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Nana Akua, and of course a live studio audience. Yay! Well, I've got to say, it has been a seismic day in British politics.
We can confirm Angela Rayner has resigned from the government. This comes moments after the Prime Minister received this report from Sir Laurie Magnus. He's the independent advisor on ethics.
Angela Rayner has resigned from government. Yvette Cooper is out as Home Secretary and Shabana Mahmood is in.
Who acceded to the English throne at the age of 9 on the death of his father Henry VIII in 1547?
Henry VII.
Edward VI.
Yeah, of course he got it wrong. And David Lammy is our new Deputy Prime Minister.
And suddenly, for once, for the first time in many of our lives, actually Britain looks like a little haven of peace and stability, and that in itself is going to draw money into this country.
Really? Well, that all feels like such a long time ago. Also tonight.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac.
The Reform UK conference kicked off today.
I think there is every chance now of a general election happening in 2027, and we must be ready for that moment.
So will Nigel Farage be Prime Minister by 2027? Plus, the illegal migrant who sparked protests outside an Epping migrant hotel is found guilty of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl.
Protect our kids! Protect our kids! Protect our kids! Protect our kids! Protect our kids!
Vindication for the people of Epping who were smeared as racist. Well, on my panel tonight, it's Labour MP Barry Gardiner, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, former Tory MP Alexander Stafford, and landlord and activist Adam Brooks. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. They've moved the deck chairs on the Titanic, but the ship is still sinking. Next.
Very good evening to you. Let's get you up to date with our headlines. Sir Keir Starmer's carried out a major reshuffle of his cabinet, triggered by the resignation of Angela Rayner. David Lammy's been appointed the new Deputy Prime Minister. He's also been named as the Justice Secretary and leaves the Foreign Office. He's described the move as the honour of his life. Outgoing Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood's been appointed as the new Home Secretary, replacing Yvette Cooper, who succeeds Mr Lammy at the Foreign Office. It is the first time all three great offices of state below the Prime Minister are held by women. In other developments, Steve Reid moves from the Environment to take over Miss Rayner's former housing brief. Pat McFadden's been appointed Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. Lucy Powell, meanwhile, has been sacked as Leader of the Commons, while Ian Murray is no longer Secretary of State for Scotland. Earlier today, Ms Rayner quit as Deputy Prime Minister, Housing Secretary and Deputy Labour Leader after an investigation found she should have paid more stamp duty on a flat in East Sussex. The Prime Minister's independent ethics advisor said Ms Rayner was in breach of the ministerial code despite having acted with integrity. She says she deeply regretted the decision not to seek specialist tax advice. Well, Nigel Farage says Angela Rayner's resignation and the chaos in the Labour government means it's likely his party will have to fight an election in 2027. His second speech of the day at Reform UK's annual conference was interrupted by protesters who were swiftly escorted from the building, one of whom accused Reform of being fascists and racists. The party leader says Labour are in crisis, aren't fit to govern, and his party need to be prepared.
I think there is every chance now of a general election happening in 2027, and we must be ready for that moment.
Former London's burning actor John Alford's been found guilty of sexually assaulting two girls aged 14 and 15. The court heard how the 53-year-old, who rose to fame in Grange Hill, sexually assaulted the girls while they were drunk during a party at a friend's home in April 2022. Alford, whose real name is John Shannon, told the court the allegations were a set-up and protested his innocence. Authorities in Portugal say 3 British nationals are among 16 people who died in a funicular railway crash in Lisbon on Wednesday. The victims, who have not been named, were a 36-year-old woman and 2 men aged 82 and 84. More than 20 other people were injured, with 5 in a critical condition. And the Duchess of Kent has died at the age of 92. She presented the winners' trophies at Wimbledon for more than 3 decades, famously consoling a sobbing Jana Novotná after her defeat to Steffi Graf in 1993. Later, the Duchess stepped back from public life and worked incognito as a music teacher in state primary schools. Buckingham Palace says the royal family will remember her passion for music and empathy for young people. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 10.
Angela Rayner. The tax row has finally come to an end, as has her career. Her reign as Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Secretary is over, triggering a frantic day of action in Westminster, which almost overshadowed the Reform UK conference. Obviously, nobody will forget this.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac.
But before we get stuck in, let's take you back to how this all began nearly 2 weeks ago, when both the Mail and the Sun on Sunday broke the story that Rayner, whilst cracking down on second home owners, had bought her second place but her third home for £800,000, a three-bedroom seaside flat in Brighton. According to Rayner, she was advised that she would only need to pay the standard rate of tax on the purchase and denied any wrongdoing. But just days later, the Telegraph broke the news, claiming that she had, in fact, guess what? She dodged £40,000 in stamp duty. The Tories then wrote to the PM's ethics advisor, asking him to investigate Rayner's tax affairs, but she survived the weekend. Now, Angela would be the first to call out wrongdoing and demand resignations.
Now it emerged, actually, that that's not true and that there was a HMRC investigation and that he's had to pay penalties for that. I think that makes his position untenable.
Yes, I'm sure it does. And her historic tweets show that she's called for other people to resign for much less. Then, just half an hour before the first PMQs after summer recess, under fire, Angela Rayner finally admitted that she had not paid enough tax on her second home, referring herself to the ethics watchdog. Oh, and the same Beth Rigby that hounded previous Conservative leaders to quit at every given opportunity gave Angela an easy ride.
I have alerted and referred myself to the independent advisor on the ministerial code to ensure that they can look transparently at what's happened, and also contacted HMRC to say that there is additional tax owing on this and that I'm prepared to pay that and fully comply with the HMRC as well.
The Cabinet rallied around Angela.
I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that.
She went on her own judgment and got independent expert tax advice. She's made a mistake, sure, but she's made an honest mistake.
I can be clear. I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister who is building 1.5 million homes, who is bringing the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and who's come from a working-class background to be Deputy Prime Minister of this country.
Yes, some more than others.
They have a go at her because she's so bloody good at her job.
Yes, that's Lucy Powell, and by the way, she lost her job today as well. Sir Keir repeatedly refused to say if he would sack Rayner if the standards advisor concluded she broke the ministerial code. And meanwhile, Rayner's property was targeted with graffiti, branding her as a tax evader. Then this morning, the investigation found that she had breached the ministerial code because she had failed to meet the highest possible standards of proper conduct. Ms Rayner resigned from all her positions, including Housing Secretary and Deputy Labour Leader. Then came the reshuffle. Brace yourselves, because David Lammy is our new Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Minister. Yvette Cooper has been taken out of the Home Office and will replace Lammy. And Shabana Mahmood is the new Home Secretary. Elsewhere, Steve Reid, Pat McFadden, Peter Khan and Liz Kendall were given new posts. Ed Miliband, Bridget Phillipson and Wes Streeting stay where they are. Let's get the thoughts of my panel on this car crash of a day for Labour. But first, let's take our first question.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a difficult question, this one. The memes on Angela Rayner are shocking at the moment and the comments are brutal. It's one rule for them, one rule for us. How are we supposed to know, as the British public, how do we trust, how are we supposed to be convinced that anyone who comes up next in this post can be trusted, is going to make sense and do what's right for us?
Oh, sorry. Well, who wants to answer that? Barry Gardner.
I think
the confidence that you should have in the next person doing the right thing is because of what's happened to Angela today. She's gone because she didn't. And a week ago on this programme, when we were talking about this, I said, look, flipping is legal, tax avoidance is legal, but it is frowned on by the Inland Revenue because it's an exploitation of a loophole. And politicians, exactly as Nana said, from what the ethics advisor had said, is that we are held to the highest possible standards through the ministerial code. And that's absolutely right, because we're setting the rules for everybody else. And yeah, it may be legal to do what she did, but it was not ethical, and that's why she had to go. So I think the fact is that the Nolan principles of public life are still being followed, and where they're not, the consequences are enormous, as we've seen today with Angela. I just want to say, look, Angela's been a friend of mine for 10 years. And I have huge respect for what she's achieved in her life. And I think anybody who looks at her story, leaving education at 16, bringing up a disabled child, and achieving the political heights that she is an incredibly remarkable woman. But she got this wrong. She was advised to take further advice on her tax affairs. She didn't do that. She's paid the price for it.
All right, Adam Brooks.
I'm sick of MPs preaching to us and virtual signalling about, you know, how we should behave when they act so badly themselves. I'm sick and tired of people making excuses for Angela Rayner because she's a woman or because she's working class. There is no excuse for preaching one thing and then acting another way, you know, especially after hounding other MPs out of jobs and all that on social media as well. This just highlights why the Uni Party is dying. The public has no trust now in the Conservatives or Labour, and reform are the only option, really, let's be real. So people, even if they're not massive Farage fans, they want something different. They want the whole political system in the UK to be reformed and to be changed. We are being laughed at around the world, and we are suffering both economically and socially. Crime is through the roof, economy is tanking. Something has to change, and this is just such bad optics. Why didn't he sack her?
Yeah, OK, well, Chloe Dobbs, should he have sacked her?
I think that Keir Starmer was in a difficult position in terms of sacking because her position as deputy leader, as opposed to deputy prime minister, is one where she is elected by the party members. But we know what it's like when someone resigns. They have basically been pushed and been turfed out, but they say that they've resigned. And it was just a question of when as opposed to if. And this story has been rumbling on for a good couple of weeks now. She has been across so many front pages, and they probably should have done it sooner. I mean, when we just found out that she had bought this new 800k pad, before there was even any question about the tax affairs, everyone looked at that and thought, she's finished. There's no way that the Deputy Prime Minister and the person in charge of the department that is currently cracking down on evil second homeowners by making them pay double council tax and whatnot, the hypocrisy of it just then, before any tax issues, was crazy. She should have gone then.
Alexander Staff.
I think exactly right. It's the hypocrisy. It's always the hypocrisy. It's not necessarily the sort of the crime or what went wrong. It's the hypocrisy. And then, slightly challenging what Barry said, she didn't stand down and resign when she realised she made a mistake. She resigned because she was found out. And even when she was found out, she lasted another week trying to hang on. And that, to me, is unforgivable. She was deliberately, I think, trying to manipulate the situation to hold on to her job to the very, very last minute. If she had any decency, first of all, she wouldn't do this. And even if it was maybe technically legal, she wouldn't have done this. It screams such bad optics and so disrespectful for the British people. But secondly, once they realised this was wrong, she should have had decency to say, I'm going to stand down, this is not tenable. And the fact, on Wednesday, we had Keir Starmer, we had Wes Streeting, backing her to the hilt, speaks to me of a rotten core of this Labour Party who are willing to stand up for their mates, regardless of the evidence, and not look after the British public.
Well, yeah. ethics advisor did say that, from what he can see, she did everything in good faith, and that she didn't do this deliberately and had simply not taken the further step to get better advice.
But she deliberately tried to save £40,000.
Well, yeah, but you see,
on a second
the
home.
thing is, most people would try and do something to get through that. But the bottom line is, what she did had to be almost like a calculated kind of understanding that if this was no longer her first house, if she needed to make sure that the new one was her first home, so she did some mental gymnastics to make sure that that was the case. Had she taken further advice, she would have known that something in trust, unless that person is 18, then unfortunately you are still seen as the owner.
Look, thank you for saying that, because I think it's right that the ethics advisor did say that she had acted with integrity. And it was complicated. But I wanted to pick up on something that Adam said, and which I very much agree with, and that's about the way in which politicians, can't have it both ways. We can't be telling people, well, you've got to do this, and then not do it ourselves. And that's why I think it's really important that Nigel Farage, who we now find said that he had bought a house in his constituency when he became the MP there, and actually put it in his wife's name to avoid having to pay the right rate on it, and also the fact that he has done another tax avoidance measure, which is that I think it's 400,000 that he's received from GBNews. He runs through a company. He doesn't do that personally, because that saves him, 15% in tax instead of paying the 40 or 45% rate. He only has to pay the 25%.
But that's pretty bog standard. Someone self-employed
yes,
has
but
limited...
the bottom line is... Oh, no, but
he's not deputy prime minister.
The point is it's tax avoidance, and that's the issue.
But the point,
say that
the point with this is that she took the moral high ground, didn't she? She's the housing secretary, and she's telling us all, oh, you've got to pay more for your second home, oh, you've got to pay more council tax, and she's used every single scheme she can possibly use to try and avoid the taxes. So
yes, but Nigel Farage, and it's this issue that Alex and Adam both talked about, of hypocrisy. You condemn Angela Rayner for doing what was legal but was tax avoidance and unethical, even though she apparently didn't realise that she was doing it. And yet you structure your affairs such that your house is in your wife's name, your income is in your company's name, and those two are tax avoidance.
You could say that somebody who decides to expense, for example, their travel to work if they are self-employed is avoiding tax, because that means they are paying less tax than they would do otherwise. But we can all use our common sense when we're talking about tax avoidance, and know there are completely acceptable things to do to minimise...
The Inland Revenue says there are three things.
That's enough. Okay. Right, we'll come back to that in a minute. My brilliant panel, Barry Gardner, Chloe Dobbs, also Alexander Stafford and Adam Brooks. Right, well, listen, it's time for our biggest ever Great British giveaway to date. It's worth over £104,000. You could win a four-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand, plus £30,000 in tax-free cash. And here's Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this four-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Right, coming up.
Every chance now of a general election happening in 2027, and we must be ready.
Nigel Farage thinks he could be Prime Minister by 2027. Is he right? I'll find out shortly.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Nana Akweer, and it's time now to go to the Reform Party conference in Birmingham, where the after-party is well underway, and broadcaster Christo Fufas joins us live. Christo, it looks a bit quiet around there. Where is everybody?
Well, it is because I've had to come out of the after party for just a moment. Now, I know how much you love a glamorous party, Nana, because I was at your engagement party, frankly, and there are few parties that top that. But this is doing quite a good job. Now, I don't know if you can hear, but right behind me, you can just catch the stage, and Nigel Farage is on there at the moment, just introducing the special guest act, which is going to take people through the evening, partying into the night, for, I think, the biggest conference that Reform have had to date. Now, would you like to know who the special guest is?
Yeah, go on. Who is it?
It's the Jacksons. Yes, people will be discoing all night at the Reform conference right here in the Birmingham NEC.
Obviously, this isn't the real Jacksons. This is a looky-likey band or something, is it?
Well, I think some of them are still around. I think
it was a real band.
Not like the original Jackson 5.
Is it the real
but
Jacksons?
I think a few of them are still going. Frankly.
They're still going.
Yes, I think it's
So
the
which
real
ones have you got? Have you got
Jacksons. There
Tito
are a
and
few of
Janet?
them still going, you know. A couple of well, I hope so. I don't think Janet's there. I don't think the reform budget stretches to Janet, frankly. But a couple of them, they've had the synatogen, they've had a couple of vitamins, and they're coming on stage. But can I tell you what's really interesting about this? And that is the number of people I've spoken to at this event who have never been to a conference before, who have never been invested in politics before. And all of them, not only do they watch GB News, actually, the number of people that have come up to me from just my appearances on Patrick's show that know GB News, but also they've never really engaged in politics, but they feel like reform offered them something that they have never had from another party. I spoke to a lovely lady called Carmel just a few minutes ago. She said she's never been to a conference, she's never engaged in politics, but she's so sick of what she's heard from the other parties that she's come here for the first time. And I think that's a real reflection of not only what GB News offers, but also what I think reform are offering. I'm not being party political here. I don't know whether reform are the answer to the problems that the UK faces. But what is happening is that they are engaging with people who have not been engaged in politics for years. And I think that's significant.
All right, Christo Fufas, thank you very much. That's Christo Fufas. Yes. And as we've been following, today was the day one of the Reform Party conference in Birmingham, and leader Nigel Farage made some key announcements. This included the creation of a new department called Preparing for Government. He even thinks that he could be Prime Minister by 2027.
There'll come a point when many MPs, Labour MPs, think they've got a better chance of being re-elected under that ticket, under Corbyn, than they do under Sir Keir. I think there is every chance now of a general election happening in 2027, and we must be ready for that moment.
So is he right? I'm going to start and ask my panel what they think. I'll start with you, Alexander. Do you think he's right?
No, I don't think Nigel's right. I think it's quite possible, and probably even more likely now, that Keir Starmer won't be Prime Minister in 2027, but I cannot see the Labour Party hurling themselves to a general election with which they will be wiped out down to levels of the Tories were last year. It's crazy. Turkeys don't vote for Christmas. So I think the Labour Party will stay in power, but they will change leader.
Adam Brooks.
I think they'll be forced to. I think the way that this country is being governed at the moment, economic factors and society is going to force them into a general election probably in 2027. One thing about reform, and people need to realise this, they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to make you happy with everything. No government is your friend, but they are the next step to change. And people that think that, you know, some of these fringe parties are going to run close in the next election are away with the fairies. Reform are the only chance to take away the uniparty, is the rule of this country. And again, it's one step of change. They're not going to be perfect, but he will be Prime Minister.
Barry Gardiner?
I don't think there'll be a general election in 2027. I think...
Is it because you'll definitely lose?
No, it's not. It's because, look, we've come through 14 years of pretty disastrous Conservative and coalition government. It left the economy in a terrible state. The economy has... we've got some good signs, OK. So they've said that the economy is now set to grow, we're told, and there is business confidence returning. But look, it's meagre fare. What you can say is that people in this country are now, in 10 months, their wages have gone up more than they did in 10 years under...
Yeah, but everything's more expensive.
Unemployment is going through the roof, Barry. Businesses are closing faster than they've ever closed before.
People talking about the IMF now coming in. It's a disaster.
It's embarrassing.
All I can say is I don't think there will be a general election in 2027. It does take time to turn round the disaster of 14 years of Conservative.
You're digging us deeper, Barry.
Yeah, but they're going at slug pace. I mean, talk about the boat. So people say, oh, you know, it takes time. And I understand it can't be solved overnight, but you've had a year and the problem's getting worse. And with most things...
Well, Nigel says it can be solved in 2 weeks.
Well, maybe it can.
Donald Trump did it. Nigel can, in my opinion.
I'm not sure it can be solved.
Hi, my name's Jim. One thing that really sticks with me at the present moment is when Labour got in, it was a £22 billion black hole. That's all we heard. Now we've got a 50 billion. Why keep digging? What is going on? All we hear is this country is going bankrupt. Why have we got a lady from accounts who's never run a business? She's not an accountant. What are Labour actually going to do to turn this country around? I agree, reform is the only option we've got. We've got to go reform. Our politics needs reforming.
OK. Well, look, we had the Governor of the Bank of England and the Monetary Policy Committee were in before the Treasury Select Committee earlier this week. Their view is that that's not the shape of the economy, that actually the economy is going to be getting better.
So we don't have a 50 billion.
No.
The markets disagree.
No.
So we haven't. It's not 50
the gilts disagree.
Sorry, the gilt markets are now
worse than they were under Truss.
I was going to say
worse than Greece.
Worse than they were under Truss.
Let him finish, because let's see what he has to say.
I want to try and address Jim's point. Okay. I think most people would look at the economy and say, unless we get growth into the economy, we're not going to pull ourselves out of the problems that we've got. And that's why the focus that we've got are on the areas that are going to create jobs and get growth into the economy. That's why the house building programme is so important. And to do that, we had to then change the whole planning law, which had become sclerotic under the Conservatives. We've changed the planning law now, and we're now trying to build those homes. That will boost the economy. So it's a matter of getting that growth into the economy. And if we can do that, I think we can pull ourselves through.
But if you don't stop the boats, then there won't be enough houses anyway, even if you build them. The first people in them will be those who've come via dinghy.
As you know, the vast majority of migration into this country is not coming over in small boats.
But the ones that will be housed will be. Just a quick comeback.
Right, building 1.5 million houses is wonderful. Who's going to build them? We've got no tradesmen. We stopped apprenticeships years ago. We told all our young people...
Jim, you're right.
Go digital, go banking, go everything.
Yeah, Jim, you're absolutely right. And that's why for years we in the Labour Party have been talking about the importance of apprenticeships, the importance of getting that in there. And that's why, again, the other thing that we've done, we haven't just said let's build 1.5 million homes. What we've said is we've got to start the apprenticeships, we've got to do the skills training, because at the moment we can't actually meet that demand that we know we need.
So why make the promise? Why make the promise that you cannot keep? It's impossible.
All right, listen. On that bombshell, coming up, the arrest of an asylum seeker led to a wave of anti-migrant protests outside the Bell Hotel. But now he's been found guilty of sexual assault. Is this vindication for the locals who were smeared as racist? My audience have their say next.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Low pressure to the west of the UK may drag in some breezy conditions around coasts of Portugal. Otherwise, mostly fine and settled across much of Europe. Here's this area of low pressure bringing in those breezy conditions around coasts of western Portugal, northwestern parts of Spain, potentially bringing in some cloud, perhaps some light outbreaks of rain later into the day. But as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean, we can see it's mostly dry, settled, plenty of sunshine. That theme continues over the weekend, along with the warm sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Over the next 24 hours we'll see some clear spells overnight, but there will still be areas of patchy cloud and a few showers, particularly towards the west. However, it's not going to be anywhere near as wet as September has been so far, because we've got a brief period of higher pressure building from the south, extending its influence into much of England, Wales, eastern Scotland, allowing those clear spells overnight. Towards the west, we do still have some Atlantic influence, some showers and areas of cloud moving into Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, parts of Western England and Wales. But where we do have the clear spells elsewhere, A few mist patches will form overnight, and that's what we'll wake up to across the southeast of England, for example, first thing Saturday. Otherwise, once they disappear, plenty of sunshine for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast. A bit more cloud there for the southwest into Wales, northern England as well. Areas of cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland associated with some showers, but these will move through fairly quickly. They're not going to be particularly heavy. Northern Scotland faring well for sunny skies first thing Saturday. But it's going to turn increasingly breezy through the day across all parts, but particularly towards the west. Some of these western coasts will really notice the gusty winds by the end of the afternoon. The winds coming up from the south will bring warmer air, with temperatures up to the mid-20s, 21 to 24 Celsius in the southeast. I think more like 20 further west and north, because the breeze will temper things, and that breeze will be particularly strong on Sunday. The chance of gales around exposed western and northern coasts, and an area of rain moves in from the west, not quite reaching the east of Scotland or eastern England, but some heavy downpours towards the west, along with a gusty breeze. And then the area of low pressure responsible for that sticks around into the start of next week, bringing an unsettled period.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Nana Acquia. An asylum seeker living at the Bell Hotel in Epping has been found guilty of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and assaulting another woman in public days after arriving in the UK on a small boat. Now, his arrest led to a wave of anti-migrant protests outside the hotel. So are these charges vindication for the locals who were smeared as racist? Right, let's get stuck in. Let's speak to our studio audience. I'm going to start with you, Jim. Jim, what do you think?
Right, well, one thing that puzzles me, as of March 23, we had a deal with France over 3 years, costing us £476 million for a service from them to stop the boats. They're not stopping them. Why are we paying them? Would you pay for a service you're not receiving?
No, I think I do it every day. The BBC.
Yeah.
Right, yes. Panel, any response to that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we are being taken for absolute fools by the French, and we've massively underestimated that as a country. Let's be clear about what France's incentives are. France is very happy for migrants to come to Britain because then it is our problem.
Exactly.
And what happens is, so the big money that people pay to come across on these boats, that is not all just going to the smugglers. That is being used to bribe so many different people. They're bribing police, they're bribing coast guards, they're bribing local government, they're bribing in people in the EU. So that everybody turns a blind eye to them coming across. And when I spoke to migrants in Calais, I was absolutely baffled when, I don't have one of these letters to prove for sure, but several independent conversations, migrants said to me, I would like to claim asylum in France, but I can't because the French have given me a letter saying I need to leave the country in 7 days. No deportation flight to Rwanda or somewhere, just saying, go figure. I get on a boat, get on a lorry, and then I almost felt sorry for the migrants because I realised you have no choice.
That's the first I've heard of that.
I know. Well, annoyingly, the migrants that we spoke to, they all probably chucked their phones in the sea, so we tried to contact them to see, can you show us one of these letters? But when I heard it on the first conversation, I thought, oh, maybe this is just a criminal on the run making up a fake story to tell us as to why he's going to Britain. But then I spoke to, I think, 3 different asylum seekers in different independent conversations, not a group of mates, who all told me the same thing. And I was like, this is crazy. I mean, surely this is against international law.
Perhaps, I don't know, maybe they've been told to say that, or it'd be interesting to get some evidence of that.
I would love to find one of these letters to confirm it for sure. But, I mean, even if I'm wrong, what is very clear is that the police are... All they do is when someone comes with a camera... They go, oh, yeah, we'll get a knife out and we'll slash one of the boats and we'll show the Brits that we're doing something. And sometimes they send us a video to show, look, we're spending your money well. But look, the facts don't lie. When the cameras aren't there, they aren't doing it. The percentage of crossings that they are stopping is going down, even though we've given them a load of money.
Yeah.
They're taking us for fools. I want our money back.
Yeah. All right, let's take a question.
Yeah, my question's actually for Barry and Adam. For the British public have a very clear perception. I think the majority of the British public believe very strongly that governments, if they wish to, can just do things if they want, if they really want to. Because criminals just do things, and those who are very desperate just do things. So from many people's perspectives, they look at the migration crisis, and all they've got is what they see in front of them, and all they can do is infer that this is what they, the government, the people who are in charge, want this to happen. So how do we, as the British public, recognise that whoever gets in next, whether it's Reform or whoever, can someone make a change? Can someone just do something?
Yes, we can. Look at Greece. Greece are a European country. They are detaining illegal immigrants for up to 5 years, or straight away they are deporting them. They've turned around the boats, they've gone against ECHR rulings, they've just ignored it. What's happened to Greece? Nothing. That's because they've got the political will to take this problem and tackle it head on. We can do that. Donald Trump was told that he could not stop illegal immigration. He ignored the lawmakers, he ignored the press, and he did it within 2 or 3 months. There is literally zero illegal immigration now into America. It is the will of our politicians, and you have to ask why. Why do our politicians not want this to stop? Is there some sort of gravy train that they're all getting a piece of, right? Because we are getting put in danger. And going back to Epping, this is a hill I'm prepared to die on. I've spoken to the family of the young girl that was sexually assaulted. It broke my heart. I knew about this the day after it happened. I was there with my camera, and it was my videos that sent this whole Epping thing nationwide. And I'm pleased it has, because we are importing men from cultures that have no regard for women. They see young girls as pieces of meat. Young schoolgirls in Epping are approached for their Snapchats. That's the thing that they like to do because it's not traceable, apparently. They're harassed. Vulgar language, and they are followed. This is what we are importing, and it's happening outside every hotel that houses these people up and down the country.
To be fair, there will be some people who are genuine, there always are, but they are overshadowed.
No, if 10% are bad, our communities have got a terrible problem.
No, yeah, I mean, it's indefensible.
Or even 1%.
But the other thing is, with government will, and the government whatever government have to deal with the civil service, and that's a problem.
Look, let me try and address the issues that Jim and you, sir, raised. You talked about the deal that was done a couple of years ago. In fact, before that, we had a deal whereby we could return anybody who came to this country to France. But the person who decided that we shouldn't have that deal was Nigel Farage.
Tell the truth, Barry.
Party.
It was never used because France would not take them back. The Dublin Agreement was never used. Tell the truth, Barry.
It was. I'm sorry.
Tell the truth.
It was. And the other thing is, we didn't have the same number of people coming because they knew they could be taken back, and that was part of the issue. So actually, getting out, Brexit has been one of the causes of that problem.
Why has Germany got 2 million then, Barry?
No, I will actually partly agree with Barry on this, because one thing that people don't talk about much is the fingerprints issue. So if you talk to migrants in Calais who want to cross and you say, why wouldn't you claim asylum in France? It's a safe country. They might say, well, the first country I got to was somewhere like Bulgaria, and they have my fingerprints there, but the police in Bulgaria, they beat us up and it was horrific. And they know if they claim asylum in France, they could be sent back to the first safe country they came to that has their fingerprints. But if they come to Britain, we're not part of that fingerprint system. So Brexit does make things harder, and it did create a bit of an issue. But if we have the political will, we can stop it. And let's just get the basics right before we start talking about our 50 people being swapped a week deal and all these technicalities. Why don't we just stop offering them an insane number of benefits to lure them across? We're a very welcoming nation, but we do not need to offer them fancy hotels with fancy buffets all day, 50 quid a week on an Aspen card, bouncy castle trips, and the list goes, balloon lessons.
Let's give them a tent.
Training.
A tent on an airfield and see how many want to come over there when we give them a tent on an airfield.
Well, Greece did that, and that's one of the reasons why people didn't want to go there. Well, listen, stay with us, because coming up after Irish comedian Graham Linehan was arrested for social media posts, Nigel Farage has claimed that the UK is now North Korea. My audience weigh in next.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Jupiter, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Nana Akweer. Now, speaking at a free speech hearing in the US Congress earlier this week, Nigel Farage had this assessment about what he called an authoritarian crisis in the UK.
At what point did we become North Korea? Well, I think the Irish comedy writer found that out 2 days ago at Heathrow Airport. This is a genuinely worrying, concerning and shocking situation.
Yes, he was referring there to the arrest of comedy writer Graham Linehan on suspicion of inciting violence in relation to posts on X. And this follows a string of free speech cases, including Lucy Connolly and also journalist Alison Pearson. So is Farage right? Well, let's get to our first question. Where's Sean? Sean?
Well, I've kind of a personal interest in this question, but the thing is, after the shocking arrest of comedy writer Graham Linehan at Heathrow Airport for posts that he did in the US rather than in the UK, is free speech dead in the UK, and has this set a dangerous precedent for the future?
I mean, it's not dead yet, but clearly it's going that way. And I think, as well as the free speech and police, just look at when Graham was arrested. I think it was 5 Met officers turned up to arrest him when he got off the plane. People who get burgled, people who get mugged, people who are shoplifting, you don't get one police community support officer, let alone 5 armed police officers. So write a few hurty words online, the police will come after you. Mug someone, shoplift, the police don't want to know. And that, to me, is so worrying. There's clearly a directive from the top saying some crimes matter more than others. And unfortunately, this government is choosing those crimes that are hurty words, better words.
Well,
and it's
probably easy pickings.
Yeah, look, I'm very vocal on X and on social media, and it does cross your mind sometimes, you know, am I going to get a knock on the door the way it's going? But I want to go back to Graham Linehan, because I'm someone that has been against the trans agenda and been very vocal for many years. And I look up to Graham Linehan. He's put everything, his career, on the line to fight back, and he has not stopped. So to have 5 armed police officers surround him for that is just disgusting. And I think the world is not just looking at us and laughing. They're looking at us in horror at what we are becoming.
But he's not alone. I mean, you've had Lucy Connolly, you know, some words that she then deleted. She knew that was wrong. And if you actually read the tweet, you might think, actually, she didn't really mean it literally. And there is no real evidence that what she put out there made a blind bit of difference. But yet, she was imprisoned for that. And then you look at someone like Mike Ainsbury, who punched a constituent to the floor, and somehow his sentence after appeal is suspended.
I mean, it's obvious two-tier policing, and you've got the Met Police, Mark Rowley specifically, blaming the government, saying, oh, we've just got to enforce the law. If you want to make laws about free speech, we've just got to enforce it, when clearly they are focusing more on hurty words than on proper crimes. And then you've got the government, you've got Keir Starmer saying, oh, well, the police need to police our streets rather than tweets. So they're all just blaming each other rather than actually solving anything. I think Wes Streeting came out with a little bit of sense in that he came on this channel and he said, maybe we need to change the law. We are parliamentarians and we have a responsibility.
Maybe they just need to be a bit more, you know, realistic about who should be arrested for things like that.
I don't think we've got a crisis of free speech. I do think we've got a crisis of policing priorities. And it's very much what Adam was saying. You know, people who are finding themselves robbed in the streets, you know, these things, mobile phone crime, being picked off people in the streets.
Yeah, they don't do anything for that.
You know, police need to be out there on the streets solving the actual physical crimes. Now, I don't agree with the...
listen, Barry, we'll have to hold it there. We'll come back to you on that. Because coming up at 10 o'clock, I'll list every single government scandal since Keir Starmer took power, and I'll ask, can he survive much longer? Oh, and we'll have more on this show-stopping moment at the Reform Conference.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac.
All of that and much more in just a few minutes.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Over the next 24 hours we'll see some clear spells overnight, but there will still be areas of patchy cloud and a few showers, particularly towards the west. However, it's not going to be anywhere near as wet as September has been so far, because we've got a brief period of higher pressure building from the south, extending its influence into much of England, Wales, eastern Scotland, allowing those clear spells overnight. Towards the west, we do still have some Atlantic influence, some showers and areas of cloud moving into Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, parts of Western England and Wales. But where we do have the clear spells elsewhere, a few mist patches will form overnight, and that's what we'll wake up to across the southeast of England, for example, first thing Saturday. Otherwise, once they disappear, plenty of sunshine for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast. A bit more cloud there for the southwest into Wales, northern England as well. Areas of cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland associated with some showers, but these will move through fairly quickly. They're not going to be particularly heavy. Northern Scotland faring well for sunny skies first thing Saturday. But it's going to turn increasingly breezy through the day across all parts, but particularly towards the west. Some of these western coasts will really notice the gusty winds by the end of the afternoon. The winds coming up from the south will bring warmer air, with temperatures up to the mid-20s, 21 to 24 Celsius in the southeast. I think more like 20 further west and north, because the breeze will temper things, and that breeze will be particularly strong on Sunday. The chance of gales around exposed western and northern coasts, and an area of rain moves in from the west, not quite reaching the east of Scotland or eastern England, but some heavy downpours towards the west, along with a gusty breeze. And then the area of low pressure responsible for that sticks around into the start of next week, bringing an unsettled period.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Fabulous. Hello. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight with me, Nana Akwe, and, of course, the fabulous live studio audience. Yay! Now, it's been a seismic day in British politics.
Can confirm Angela Rayner has resigned from the government. This comes moments after the Prime Minister received this report from Sir Laurie Magnus. He's the independent advisor on ethics.
Angela Rayner has resigned from government. Yvette Cooper is out as Home Secretary, and Shabana Mahmood is in.
Who acceded to the English throne at the age of 9 on the death of his father Henry VIII in 1547?
Henry VII.
Edward VI.
He hasn't got a clue, has he? And David Lammy is our new Deputy Prime Minister.
And suddenly, for once, for the first time in many of our lives, actually Britain looks like a little haven of peace and stability, and that in itself is going to draw money into this country.
Well, that all feels like such a long time ago. Also tonight...
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac.
The Reform UK conference kicked off today.
I think there is every chance now of a general election happening in 2027, and we must be ready for that moment.
So, will Nigel Farage be Prime Minister by 2027? We'll go live to the Reform Conference after party, where the celebrations are well underway. On my panel tonight, it's Labour MP Barry Gardiner. Political commentator Chloe Dobbs. Former Tory MP Alexander Stafford. And landlord and activist Adam Brooks. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. This Labour government is hanging on by a thread. Next.
A very good evening to you from the GB newsroom. Our headlines. The Sir Keir Starmer has brought forward a major cabinet reshuffle in an effort to restore order following Angela Rayner's resignation, moving a dozen ministers to new roles and sacking 2 others. The outgoing Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has been promoted to Home Secretary. She'll be tasked with addressing the small boats crisis and the asylum hotel protests. Her former role goes to David Lammy, who's been dropped as Foreign Secretary, but has gained the additional role of Deputy Prime Minister, vacated by Angela Rayner. Yvette Cooper leaves the job of Home Secretary to replace Mr Lammy at the Foreign Office. Rachel Reeves remains Chancellor, meaning the 3 great offices of state are, for the first time, held by women. Steve Reid will take over Angela Rayner's former housing brief. He previously served as the Environment Secretary. Lucy Powell's been sacked as the Leader of the Commons. Ian Murray sacked as Secretary of State for Scotland. Well, the reshuffle came shortly after Angela Rayner was forced to step down after breaching the ministerial code over her tax arrangements. An investigation found she should have paid more stamp duty on a flat in East Sussex. Ms Rayner says she deeply regretted not seeking specialist tax advice. In a handwritten letter, Sir Keir Starmer said he was very sad that Angela Rayner's time in government had come to an end and had nothing but admiration for her. Nigel Farage says there's every chance of a general election in 2027, declaring he'll run on a promise to stop the boats within 2 weeks of entering number 10. His second speech of the day at Reform UK's annual conference was interrupted by protesters who were swiftly escorted from the building. And Mr Farage says Angela Rayner's resignation over her tax affairs screams to entitlement.
From being the Housing Secretary and avoiding £40,000 of council tax, and it screams to entitlement. It screams to a government that, despite all the promises that this would be a new, different kind of politics, is as bad, if not worse, than the one that went before.
Former London's Burning actor John Alford has been found guilty of sexually assaulting 2 girls aged 14 and 15. Now, the jury heard how the 53-year-old who rose to fame in Grange Hill sexually assaulted the girls while they were drunk during a party at a friend's home in April 2022. The jury also heard he'd bought some £250 worth of food, alcohol and cigarettes from a nearby petrol station. Real name John Shannon told the court the allegations were a set-up and protested his innocence. And the Prince and Princess of Wales have paid a personal tribute to the Duchess of Kent following her death at the age of 92. William and Kate praised Catherine for working tirelessly to help others, describing her as a much-missed member of the family. The wife of the late Queen's cousin, the Duke of Kent, died peacefully at home, surrounded by her close family on Thursday. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 10 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good evening all. Remember this.
Oh my God.
But now our country has voted decisively for change, for national renewal and a return of politics to public service.
And suddenly, for once, for the first time in many of our lives, actually Britain looks like a little haven of peace and stability, and that in itself is going to draw money into this country.
But in just over 1 year, this Labour government have lurched from one crisis to another. The Prime Minister promised a break from sleaze, but within weeks of coming into power, his government was caught up in Freebiegate. He was eventually forced to pay back over £6,000 worth of gifts that he'd received from wealthy donors. Then the Transport Secretary, Louise Haigh, it turned out that she'd previously been convicted of fraud. She had to go. Then it was the turn of former anti-corruption Minister Tulip Siddiq, who resigned over a corruption scandal. Are you still with me? Right. Next up, we have the Runcorn Rocky, the Helsby Razor and Iron Mike Amesby.
Okay. You won't ever threaten me again.
Hey!
Ever threaten me again, will you?
Yes, former Labour MP Mike Amesby was chucked out of the party and received a prison sentence for punching a constituent to the ground. He was caught on camera. In May, Lucy Powell, who lost her job in government today, was forced to apologise after this shocking moment.
I don't know if you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
No,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, OK.
There was a real issue
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
And let's not forget Homelessness Minister Rushana Ali, who resigned after evicting her tenants before quickly listing her property again at a much higher rate, breaching the terms of Labour's incoming Renters' Rights Bill. Right, fast forward to the start of this week and the return of Parliament after the summer holidays. The Prime Minister was doing his level best to reboot his government.
Summer's definitely over, and this morning we've got all the Number 10 staff together and talked through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like and feel like. So we go into phase 2, 1st of September 2025, in good spirits, confident and with conviction about what we're doing.
And how's that going?
We can confirm Angela Rayner has resigned from the government. This comes moments after the Prime Minister received this report from Sir Laurie Magnus. He's the independent advisor on ethics.
So the big question tonight, can the Prime Minister survive these scandals? Is this government on the brink of collapse? Well, I'm joined now by my panel, Labour MP Barry Gardner, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, also former Tory MP Alexander... Stafford, yes. And also political commentator and activist Adam Brooks. I'm just giving everyone new names. So look, seriously, Is this government, do you think they're on the brink, Alex?
Definitely. I'm amazed if Keir Starmer will survive the year. I think he goes from one scandal to another scandal to another scandal. And most of these scandals aren't things happening to him or things national politics or international politics. They are internal battles of the Labour Party, mess things up again and again and again and again and looking dodgy. And clearly Keir Starmer doesn't have control over his own ranks. We saw this week, trying to reboot. And what was the reboot? More scandal, more resignations, having to bring a reshuffle forward. No one can run a party like this. But eventually you've got to run out of people. There's only so many times you put David Lammy into a new position to keep things going. They've got no one left on their ranks. Something has to change.
Look, his own personal ratings are some of the lowest of a sitting Prime Minister ever. I mean, Keir Starmer, for me, is one of the most unlikable and relatable people I've ever seen in politics. Labour are tanking in the polls. In some polls, if you add up Labour and Conservative, they're around the reform mark. They are getting annihilated. The uniparty is over in this country. And look, I would say we're only a couple of scandals away from this government collapsing. And the way it's going, I can see these scandals coming out in the next year or two.
What do you think, Barry Gardner? Is he being a bit...
Well, listen, if you believe what Adam and Alex say, I might be back in government in a few months. No, look, we need to apologise to the British public for all the scandals, all the things that have gone wrong. You know, ministers have had to resign because things have gone wrong and they are responsible for them. And that's absolutely right. So I think an apology is due. Whether we're going to have a general election in 2027, as Nigel Farage is saying, I think is entirely another matter.
But Barry, you promised to clean up politics.
Exactly, and that's the point. And that's the point, Adam. We came in looking at what the Tories had done, looking at the way you, the public, had said, we're sick fed up of that lot,
and then
we want rid of them. And then, over the past year, we've had scandals of our own.
But the difference is the Tories were in power for 14 years, and at the end of it, yes, we lost trust in the public. Things were going wrong, but it took up to 14 years to get that. This all started within a few weeks or months of Labour coming in, and it's continued.
You've done it in a year. How have you managed?
Well, you've done 1 year, it took 14 years. I mean, in some ways, that's an achievement.
It's like an episode of EastEnders. There's so much going on.
I didn't think that you could out-sleaze the Tories, but I've been proven wrong. I mean, as soon as they came in, it was straight away the whole Lord Ali saga, and it just kept rumbling on and on and on. We found out the amount of freebies Keir Starmer had was actually double what we originally thought, and it just kept going. And I mean, that whole list of scandals, the brilliant compilation you put together there, Nana. But half of those I'd actually forgotten about because I just can't keep track. I'd forgotten about the Louise Haigh phone scandal and punching a constituent. Mike Haysbee. It's so all happened so fast in 1 year.
But the thing about all this is not just some of these scandals happened in the past and come to light now. Labour are making more and more scandals. The Mike Haysbee stuff was a new scandal. The Angela Rayner was a new scandal. So they're keeping making more and more and more scandals.
Well, look, I just want to remind everybody as to who kind of assisted this government in getting into power. And I just want to play you that clip of when Labour came into power, how everything was going to change and how pleased the legacy, the traditional media were when they heard it. Just have a listen and look at this.
Oh my God.
And they're leading the charge. Look, I think we've got a question in the audience somewhere. Yes.
Hi, Sarah here.
Hello, Sarah.
Do you think that the Labour started their campaign with one clear agenda? A, to get the people on side, and B, to sink Britain, to get us back into the EU, to just dissolve Brexit? They had this agenda from the offset.
Yeah. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I don't know what Labour's agenda was. The problem, I think, with Labour's got is they came into power on the backs of people getting really annoyed with the Conservatives, with no clear policy, no clear ideas, and no clearly unifying vision that brought the Labour Party together. They came on the backs because the Conservative Party lost trust of the public. And what do they stand for? They stand for nothing, and now they're just falling apart. So they have no agenda of any sort, I don't think.
Well, just to confirm, that was Kay Burley, actually, from Sky News. Barry Gardner.
No, I don't think the agenda was to go back into the EU, and it's not. And that's not what we're planning to do. It's not what government wants to do. And genuinely, I honestly don't think so. Keir Starmer is an ardent, he was an ardent Remainer, but he's not now trying to get us back into the EU.
He tried to get us to have another referendum, Barry.
Yeah, he did, and that was, I think, a big mistake in the end. Look, I was a Remainer, but after the referendum took place, I said, OK, the people have spoken. Democracy trumps my concerns about the economy. And the economy's lost 4% as a result of leaving the EU. But, that's the will of the people, and you have to respect it. So I don't think there's any agenda to get us back in there. I think that's scaremongering or, but I do think that the criticism that Alex made is it's not clear to the public what the Labour agenda really is.
Because there isn't one,
I think, you see, I could create a narrative around that agenda about growth in the economy, about housing, about building the skills base, building a future. And, of course, for me, Adam would be appalled, because it would be about a green economy, it would be about all the renewable economy and the way in which the world is ultimately going in that direction, and we need to be at the forefront of it. It would also be in biotech. It would also be in AI. These are areas where Britain can have strategic advantages, and that's what I would like to see. But I don't think it's the vision that you rightly talk about that is being articulated at the moment.
Okay, Barry,
and that's the leadership that need to do it.
Look, Barry, even if it isn't the case that it's part of their agenda to try and bring us back into the EU, it has a massive effect on their decision-making. So, for example, as part of these EU reset talks, the way that these Remainer, or Ramona, shall I say, politicians have approached it is they're just very pragmatic, because they don't understand why people voted for Brexit. They don't understand that we don't want to be told what to do by leaders that we haven't even elected. So they looked at food and they thought, OK, we'll just say that we'll take all the rules from the EU on food standards, and we can see on our spreadsheet that will boost the economy by X billion a year, so happy days, let's do it. They don't understand the point of Brexit, because it's just a cabinet full of Remainers. I really think you need some Brexiteers, not all Brexiteers, but some Brexiteers in there to hold them to account and say, no, that's not a good idea, because that's going to infuriate the British public who voted almost a decade ago to not take rules from people they haven't elected.
The interesting thing is that actually the people who set most of the rules in the EU were the British politicians. It was the British civil servants and the British... In fact, I tell you who set the Birds and Habitats Directive. It was Boris Johnson's father. He wrote the Birds and Habitats Directive. So it's not as if we weren't actually in there creating those rules.
That's not the point.
That we then... the point is democracy spoke, and we, the politicians...
I'm going to take it quickly and wide out here. Why are so many Labour MPs tied to communism from their early years? That's a worry for many people. There's many people within the Labour Party in Parliament that basically were communists when they were younger.
All right, quickly. Who have you got in there?
Well, Keir Starmer used to go to Czechoslovakia as a young boy. Why did he do that?
Well, I went to the USSR.
Yeah.
But that's because it was a school trip.
Okay.
Right, and on that bombshell, it is time for our latest Great British Giveaway. And it's our biggest prize to date. It's worth £104,000. Yes, you could win a 4-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand plus £30,000 in tax-free cash. Here are the details you need.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof light, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Coming up next, it's time to go back to the Reform Party conference where the after-party is well underway, and I've got an exclusive behind-the-scenes footage of the Jacksons performing. Don't go anywhere.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdley, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
1, 2, 3. The iconic Gretna Green. For over 270 years, couples have travelled here to be wed. What started in 1754 as a way for under-18s to marry without parental consent has now become a hotspot for lovebirds to say I do.
Guys, you've just gotten married here at Gretna Green. How are you feeling?
Amazing, really good. Happy that we've come and celebrated here.
We didn't want anything big, nothing extreme, and it was simple, easy to do.
David and Jenny now have their honeymoon and the rest of their lives to look forward to. But, as is the story for most modern couples, getting married wasn't just about love.
When you're married, everything's like legal-wise is just so much more simpler rather than having to worry about lawyers and stuff like that later on.
To have the same last name as the kids as well is quite a big thing for me.
In England, Scotland and Wales, the laws around marriage are complex and engulfed in red tape. To make things worse, the average cost of a wedding is now over £23,000. Gretna Green is calling on the government to appoint a dedicated marriage czar.
We believe marriage is struggling not because love is dead, it's because the system is broken. People don't seem to see marriage as an important thing. It provides great stability. Marriage matters. There's economic benefits, there's social benefits, and the government have got to show some leadership. And we're calling for a czar because we want someone to be the voice of marriage in this country.
Every year, around 4,000 newlyweds are married at Gretna Green. But with a change in the law, it seems that many more, both here and across the UK, could be saying I do. Sophie Reaper.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight with me, Nana Aquia. And it's time now to go back to the Reform UK Party conference in Birmingham, where the Jacksons, yes, the brothers of Michael Jackson, obviously not him, have taken to the stage.
How you doing?
Well, joining us now live from Birmingham is broadcaster Christo Fufas. Christo, so we saw them, the Jacksons. Hello. Which ones were they?
They were the Jackson 4. They weren't the Jackson 5, they were the Jackson 4, but they were very good, and they had some good moves as well. But then, you know what happened, Nana? I was swept away. Someone said there's a better party happening elsewhere at the Sky Bar, where the great and good of Reform are. So I'm now at this beautiful terrace, and if I just turn my camera around, if I can just negotiate doing that, I'm overlooking now the NEC. Can you see behind me from this lovely terrace? Inside is all of the Reform, the great and the good, all of the people. There is a longer queue for this exclusive do than there is actually for the other after party. And McCoy as well, it's Gawain Taylor.
Yes, Gawain Taylor.
He's here as well. He is, what is he? He's hanging around outside. Hello, Gawain. Hello. And so that's what's taking place. This was the sort of more exclusive of the party. And I thought you'd appreciate this, Nana, being someone who appreciates an exclusive party yourself. And of course, the sentiment is still here. Everything is here. Really genuinely believe that what is happening in the UK right now is the wrong thing and they won't change.
Thank you, Christo Fufas. Goodbye. Christo Fufas, yes. Yes, and earlier today, Reform leader Nigel Farage unveiled his party's latest signing, the former Culture Minister and staunch Boris Johnson ally, Nadine Dorries, who warned that the Tory party is, quote, dead.
The reason why, and I'm going to deliver probably a slightly more serious message, the reason why is this government is in deep and serious trouble. It is falling apart. It is dividing and fracturing. The Conservative Party did that a number of years ago.
So, is the Tory party dead? Let's go to a former Tory party member, Alexander
I'm still a Tory party member.
You're
still part of the former MB. And the reason why I am still a party member is I think there's a bright future for the Conservative Party. Really? Yeah, don't get me wrong. At the end, we messed up and the polls punished us for the last few years in government. There's no getting by that. And it's been a pretty rough time since in the polls, partly because Labour have spectacularly imploded. Because Labour only won a large election because Conservatives messed up. Now, Labour are messing up even more. The public, rightly, are saying, we need a better choice. We need an option.
But a lot of people blame you for allowing a Labour government.
Well, we should have been better. There's no question. We should have been better on immigration. Yeah,
you were the only other option. Let's be honest.
We
weren't ready.
And that's why we need to spend the next few years in opposition rebuilding that trust with policy, with developments. Because I do think the public voted in Labour because they were so sick of the Conservatives, not because of what Labour are offering.
Let me just ask the audience: would anybody forgive the Conservatives for what they did? No. Is there a hand up anywhere that they would forgive them?
No.
And that's the mountain we've got to come, and we've got 4 years to do that. It's a long battle, but I think we can get there.
Look, I'll tell you, someone that's on the ground, I speak to a lot of people in my pub, I speak to a lot of people out and about, and I've got a very big following online. I don't know anyone that will vote Conservative. Unfortunately, there are a few good eggs in your party. I like Robert Jenrick, but the rest of your party is full of Lib Dem types. They should not be Conservative. They haven't got Conservative values. They let us down during COVID. They've let us down over immigration. And unfortunately, the Conservative brand is dead. And it doesn't matter who you've got as leader, it cannot be rescued.
The Conservative Party we counted out over 150 years again and again and again. We've renewed, revived, and we need to earn back people's trust. Now, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a tough battle. But what I don't think the public want is another party coming in with no policies, no actual reason of how they're going to do it. Now, don't get me wrong, Reform might have those ideas, they might have the concrete ideas, and they're building. But we also need to show how we can earn back the trust.
We want change.
I think that people are just crying out for a government that does something. And when Labour came in, a lot of people thought, I'm not left-wing, I don't like all their policies, but just do something. Maybe they'll actually build some houses. Maybe the NHS will improve a bit. It might be a bit socialist, but they'll do something. And Labour have proven that, just like the Tories, they're just going to be all the talk and none of the walk. And so Reform, maybe they don't have all the meat on the bone yet in terms of all the exact details of the policy. They're making a lot of progress on that. They're working really hard, and in terms of structuring the party. But even if they're not perfect, I feel like they've at least got some some tenacity and they will act with a sense of urgency.
So are the Tories dead?
Absolutely. I think anything they come out with now is too little and too late. And I think Adam is absolutely spot on to talk about how a lot of MPs in the party are way too wet. Because even if someone, whether it's Robert Jenrick, Kemi Badenoch or whoever, says all of the right things, if they actually got into power, they wouldn't be able to put their politics...
Barry Gardner.
Well, look, I'm not going to defend the Conservative Party, that's for sure. But I would take issue, Chloe, with what you said, because you mentioned the National Health Service, and you know, people thought that Labour would come into government and we'd do something. Well, actually, we did. What we did in the National Health Service, we inherited 7 million on the waiting list, and we've cut that by 2 million.
No, you've fudged it, Barry.
No, we haven't.
Be truthful again, Barry. You've fudged it.
Look, it's the same methodology being used to judge those statistics. So we have done things. We actually stopped the strikes, the doctors' strikes, that were causing such damage to the NHS.
They're asking for even more money now.
Yeah, they are. But actually, we stopped that and we made sure that we actually got a health service that is on the road to getting mended.
Well, we shall see. Time will tell. We shall see. But listen, coming up, would you be willing to carry a digital ID if it meant cracking down on illegal migration? My audience and my panel have their say in just a few minutes.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Low pressure to the west of the UK may drag in some breezy conditions around coasts of Portugal. Otherwise, it's mostly fine and settled across much of Europe. Here's this area of low pressure bringing in those breezy conditions around coasts of western Portugal, northwestern parts of Spain, potentially bringing in some cloud, perhaps some light outbreaks of rain later into the day. But as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean, we can see it's mostly dry, settled, plenty of sunshine. That theme continues over the weekend, along with the warm sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Over the next 24 hours we'll see some clear spells overnight, but there will still be areas of patchy cloud and a few showers, particularly towards the west. However, it's not going to be anywhere near as wet as September has been so far, because we've got a brief period of higher pressure building from the south, extending its influence into much of England, Wales, eastern Scotland, allowing those clear spells overnight. Towards the west, we do still have some Atlantic influence, some showers and areas of cloud moving into Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, parts of Western England and Wales. But where we do have the clear spells elsewhere, a few mist patches will form overnight, and that's what we'll wake up to across the southeast of England, for example, first thing Saturday. Otherwise, once they disappear, plenty of sunshine for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast. A bit more cloud there for the southwest into Wales, northern England as well. Areas of cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland associated with some showers, but these will move through fairly quickly. They're not going to be particularly heavy. Northern Scotland faring well for sunny skies first thing Saturday. But it's going to turn increasingly breezy through the day across all parts, but particularly towards the west. Some of these western coasts will really notice the gusty winds by the end of the afternoon. The winds coming up from the south will bring warmer air, with temperatures up to the mid-20s, 21 to 24 Celsius in the southeast. I think more like 20 further west and north, because the breeze will temper things, and that breeze will be particularly strong on Sunday. The chance of gales around exposed western and northern coasts, and an area of rain moves in from the west, not quite reaching the east of Scotland or eastern England, but some heavy downpours towards the west, along with a gusty breeze. And then the area of low pressure responsible for that sticks around into the start of next week, bringing an unsettled period.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordmeat, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Nana Akweer. Now, Brits could soon be forced to carry digital ID cards as part of the government's plan to crack down on illegal migration. Now, the government had previously steered clear of digital ID cards as a way to deter channel crossings. However, one of the options now under consideration is issuing every person in the UK with a unique digital ID in which they use to prove their eligibility to work, pay bills, vote online, sign contracts, shop and access their health information. So would you be willing to carry a digital ID card? I'm going to ask the audience. Hands up if you'd be willing to carry a digital ID card. Who wouldn't? The majority of people. Right, so Barry, over here, you said you would. You wouldn't.
Yeah, look,
you wouldn't be bothered.
I do carry a digital ID card. It's this.
No, it's not. Nonsense. It's not, Barry,
Adam,
and I'll tell you why. It's nonsense.
Can we just assume that anything I say, you say is nonsense? I mean, you don't need to say it every time, Adam.
Say your bit, and I'll tell you why.
Lovely. Well, that sounds like a good debating tactic. We give so much of who we are, where we are, what we're doing away to all those companies, right? Yep. Now, biometric data is on here as well, because many of us actually use the biometric data, face recognition and all of that, to open our phones and do all that we want to on them. So it doesn't hold any fear for me. 30, 40 years ago, somebody had said to me, do you want to carry a card to prove your identity in Britain? I said, absolutely not, because we have the right of free passage anywhere we go in this country, and that should always be the case. But it is a good way, it's a very good way, to actually check, for an employer to check whether you've got the right to work in this country, and I think that's important. But it's got to be enforced.
One second. All our data on our phones goes to private companies. They have not got the power to stop us getting our benefits, to stop us travelling on the train. If we look at digital ID, look at China. It's a digital prison. If you speak out, look, I speak out about Starmer. If in the future he wanted to punish me, he could say, right, stop him being able to get on a train to a protest, stop him being able to buy certain goods or go on holiday. And that is what digital ID would lead to. We've seen it in China. We need a digital bill of rights, because in the real world, if the government wants to spy on me in my everyday life, or the police need to, they have to get a warrant. But online, they can spy on you anyway.
Do you see the connection with migration?
No. Look, what is a digital ID going to do? It's not going to stop immigration. All right, let's give all the illegal immigrants digital ID. Not us. Why should we have to? Yeah. It is a Tony Blair idea that he's pushed for 20 years. Yeah. And anything that Tony Blair pushes, you do the opposite.
Yeah, this digital ID is a complete non-starter. To get a job in the UK or apply for jobs, and as a former Tory MP, I've had to apply for a few jobs in the last year, you have to prove who you are, where you're from, provide passport or national insurance number. Those details are out there. So this is not going to stop a single person getting a job or not getting a job. There are issues with Deliveroo, Uber Eats, who are selling their IDs. That is a problem, but that can be tracked through what we've got. Now, to challenge what Barry said, we have all the information on our phone, but we choose to give that information to the companies. There's rights.
That's not choice.
And more importantly, we get something in return. We get a flashy iPhone to use. You get a nice Samsung phone. You get the technology. It's not the company, Mr. Apple, saying you must give us your data and you get nothing in return. And that is what the government's doing.
I mean, Adam's right that there's a really big distinction to draw between your data going to private companies and it going to the government. Because I personally don't care if Amazon then hears what I'm talking about through my Alexa or my Instagram, sees what I'm scrolling through. Because what do they do with it? They just give me targeted adverts, and I get adverts for things I actually want to buy. But the government, it gives them a heck of a lot of power if they have all of our data.
I'm just going to take a question, yes. Yes, go for it.
There's one question about digital ID. What if we say no?
Then it will be a matter of public choice.
No. Someone says you all need digital ID, and that's the rule. What if we say no? What happens to that individual?
Well, look, if a law is passed in this country, right, should a law be passed in this country, and it's not suggested that it will, but if a law is passed in this country, then we all obey it. And very often people don't like some of the legislation that's passed. But it's legislation has never been individual choice. It's never been, I'll pick the ones that I like and I'll not pick the ones I don't like.
What power is he? What he's saying is, what power do we actually have to stop you from doing it? So a government with such a large majority could push this through.
Yes, of course.
We don't have
any government with a large majority
but that's what we're saying.
can push
what
it through.
If the public say no? Like in large majority for saying no, you've got a majority.
And also, logically as well, illegal migrants turn up. What do they do with their digital ID, their passports? They just chuck them in the sea.
But a lot of this goes back to trust, though. And finally, do we trust the government with our data? No. Again and again, even recently with the Afghan situation, the government is incompetent with our data. Then again, it loses data. Frankly, I trust Apple far more to look after my data and keep my details more secure than this government.
No, what about during COVID? I'm part of the Together Declaration. We fought off vaccine passports. The government wanted us to be a QR code society where we showed a QR code to go to the pub or your shop. We fought that off. We said no. We do not want a digital ID. Again, we will become a QR code society. If I don't pay my parking ticket, Adam Brooks hasn't paid his parking ticket, don't let him go on holiday, bang, stop him on his digital ID. That is where we are going with this.
Sorry, Adam, it's not a case of he hasn't done something, therefore you stop him. That has to go through a court. It has to be decided. We have a system in this country for deciding whether a law has been broken and what you do to punish somebody.
Yeah, well, look, it'd be interesting to see whether they manage to push that through. I don't see the connection with migration. Does anybody see the connection with digital ID and migration? It just seems like a way of trying to shovel this down, using a thing that we're all passionate about to try and push this through.
Tony Blair, yet again.
Again, is it him again? Well, listen, stay with me, because coming up, it's the moment that you've all been waiting for. It's time for my audience to crown this week's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. Don't go anywhere.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson is being praised for his role in inspiring the next generation of farmers. His documentary shows the ups and downs of British farm life, and now the Royal Agricultural University in Gloucestershire has credited it with a rise in applications. Good stuff, eh? We can now speak with the agriculture student at Gloucestershire's Hartpury University, Joseph Watkins. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. What a scene you've got there. Do you think it's going to inspire another generation? You're a young man yourself. Has it inspired you at all?
For anyone watching, it's just amazing to see, isn't it? All the different steps they take, all the different revenues which they can create on farm. So I think it's really good for the public. And if it does something to help get people into the industry, I think that's an amazing thing. Agriculture has both a lack of skilled talent and just a lack of people in the industry anyway. So if someone wants to go and do a college course or university course to get into the agriculture industry because they watch Jeremy Clarkson, this old pot-bellied Top Gear man, then I think it's great. And I say that with all due respect. I love Top Gear.
Well, we were talking about the ups and downs of farm life. What are the, first of all, let's start with the ups. What are the ups?
They're pretty beautiful ladies, you know, surrounded by 600 lovely ladies. That's certainly something. Working outside, you know, you're working with your hands. It's definitely a rewarding experience to be able to go home after a long day and think, right, everything's taken care of. All of these cows are all happy. Some of the downs, it's difficult, isn't it? You've heard this, I'm sure you know. The farm tax, family farm tax, has been in the news lately. But the early mornings, late nights, being away from friends and family, strenuous jobs, and often at times dangerous. So there's ups and downs to it. But as you can see now, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome back. Right, so let's do Greatest Britain and Union Jackass.
Mine is the great people of Epping and those that have joined us in Epping to protest the Bell Hotel and try and protect our local women and children. Each and every week we're turning up, and we will continue to do so until those migrants are out of there. Note to the government, we are not giving up, we are all Epping.
You next?
Yes, I've got Sienna Churcher. She's an 18-year-old Reform councillor who very bravely spoke at the Reform conference today. And we've got a little clip of some of the threats that she has received for doing what she does.
Oh, we don't have
Oh, we don't have the clip? OK.
No,
Well, essentially, she said that she has received rape threats, death threats. She's been ostracised by all her friends, but she is determined, as an 18-year-old, to carry on doing what she is doing.
All right, we've got the clip now. I've got it for you. Have a look.
I'm in between being told I'm going to be killed and murdered, or I'm going to be raped. Oh.
Yeah, brave girl, brave girl. Good?
Now, I was hoping that I would be able to say tonight that my greatest Britons were Patrick, Christys and Emily, because I was hoping that we might have heard some news about the baby, but we haven't. So I'm going for that Glaswegian dynamo, Lulu. Remember Boom Bang a Bang winning the Eurovision, OK? Because today she came out and said that she is a recovering alcoholic. So it's for her and the courage that she's shown and the courage that every recovering alcoholic shows every day to cure their disease.
For me, it has to be the late Duchess of Kent. I mean, she was 92 years old. She was the first Catholic to go into the royal family for 300 years. But more than that, she did a great job with UNICEF, 2 decades at Wimbledon giving trophies. And when she decided to take a step back from royal duties, she then worked in schools and she worked as a music teacher. And I think other royals who stepped back from duties could learn a lesson for what she did.
All right. Protocol now and nominate my own Greatest Britain, and it is the one and only Dame Andrea Jenkins for this stellar performance at the Reform Party conference today.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac.
All right, everybody, let's do it. I'm an insomniac. Come on, everybody, sing.
I'm an insomniac.
you to sleep, I don't know what will. Right.
Don't go on The Voice.
Right, you
It actually did land very well with the audience there. You can't really see it in the clip, but people were singing along and cheering. People quite liked it. I think it was a lot less cringe than Theresa May's very awkward dancing queen show at Tory party conference.
At least she was kind of normal, really, Andrew. She's just a normal human being doing her thing, right? All right, so let's crown our greatest Brit. Brooks?
What, the jackass is...
No, let's crown the greatest Britain.
Oh, right, OK.
We've just talked about
We've just done Greatest Britain.
All right, Adam, go on.
Right, my jackass is Ellie Goulding and all the celebrities that are branding us protesting outside migrant hotels as being embarrassing and embarrassing the country. If only they lived in a community where women and girls are being harassed and targeted, maybe they would think differently. But these virtual signaling celebrities need to shut up and realise in the real world we are against this and we will carry on protesting.
To be Angela Rayner, hasn't it? She is the biggest jackass of this week, absolutely, for sure. I mean, you've shown us clips earlier today of all the things she has said in the past, and she has shown herself to be, I think, the biggest hypocrite in this country.
Barry, your union jackass.
I disagree fundamentally with what Graham Linehan said. I think he was wrong to say it. It was a joke, but it was a very poor joke. I think he even admitted that. But my union jackass are the 5 armed police at Heathrow who went to arrest him.
Do you think that actually we're heading towards an interesting society where we are putting forward, hurty words ahead of actually solving crimes and things like that?
I think there's a real problem, and I think we as politicians need to look at this, because maybe we drafted the legislation in a way that makes it difficult for the police to do the job that we all want them to do and to apply common sense to it. The police have to interpret the law, right? And if we write a bad law or a law that is ambiguous, then they maybe interpret it not in the way that it was meant. So I think we need to look at that, but I think the police do need to apply common sense.
Look, I would say direct it at the person that told them to go and arrest him. Those people are doing their orders. They're carrying out orders. Who gave them the orders?
Yeah, that's a question. It's a good question indeed. Alex?
Mine is Dennis Jones, who until I think yesterday or today was the Labour leader of Peterborough Council, who allegedly in a private text message conversation, which has now been leaked in August this year, referred, I quote, to poor white trash from Rotherham who were raped, i.e. the victims of grooming gangs, as poor white trash. He has now been suspended from the Labour Party. But to me, that shows, unfortunately, an element of politics and the Labour Party. There's still that horrific view of those thousands of girls raped. And I represented part of Rotherham. I've met so many victims who were victims of abhorrent grooming and rape. And the fact that a senior politician in the Labour Party, who was leader of Peterborough Council until only yesterday, could say such words is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, disgraceful.
Can the Labour Party go a single day without a scandal? It just seems impossible.
Just an absolute shocker, isn't it? All right, it's time to vote for our union jackass. If you want Ellie Goulding, which is Adam Brooks, for virtue signalling, let's hear it. Chloe Angela Rayner.
To win.
Barry Gardner, the Heathrow Armed Police who arrested Graham Linehan. And finally, Alex, Dennis Jones for calling victims of rape gangs white trash. I've got to say, our union jackass is Angela Rayner. Really good fun. Now, listen, I wasn't that impressed with your sing-along to that fabulous song, which was written, I think, by Dame Andrew Jenkins, and she is an ex-opera singer, which is why she's so good at singing. So, come on. It is my second ever patch at Christys tonight. Hopefully we'll get some good news about the baby, hopefully soon. Unfortunately, we haven't got that news yet. So I think maybe this song might help them sort of get that baby out there. So should we sing it with enthusiasm and
No.
Come on.
My ears might stop
Let's get the
bleeding.
music going. 3, 2, 1. DJ, hit the tunes. Maybe we can download it or something and perhaps help her with some of the sales.
It might top the charts tomorrow.
It's just not a very good song.
Tell her that.
That's a bit mean.
This is my tribute to her fabulous energy for actually doing that and going and doing that on the stage. Good for her. I'm an insomniac. That is the fabulous Dame Andrea Jenkins. I've got to say a huge thank you to my brilliant panel. Barry Gardner.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Over the next 24 hours we'll see some clear spells overnight, but there will still be areas of patchy cloud and a few showers, particularly towards the west. However, it's not going to be anywhere near as wet as September has been so far, because we've got a brief period of higher pressure building from the south, extending its influence into much of England, Wales, eastern Scotland, allowing those clear spells overnight. Towards the west, we do still have some Atlantic influence, some showers and areas of cloud moving into Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, parts of Western England and Wales. But where we do have the clear spells elsewhere, a few mist patches will form overnight, and that's what we'll wake up to across the southeast of England, for example, first thing Saturday. Otherwise, once they disappear, plenty of sunshine for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast. A bit more cloud there for the southwest into Wales, Northern England as well. Areas of cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland associated with some showers, but these will move through fairly quickly. They're not going to be particularly heavy. Northern Scotland faring well for sunny skies first thing Saturday. But it's going to turn increasingly breezy through the day across all parts, but particularly towards the west. Some of these western coasts will really notice the gusty winds by the end of the afternoon. The winds coming up from the south will bring warmer air, with temperatures up to the mid-20s, 21 to 24 Celsius in the southeast. I think more like 20 further west and north, because the breeze will temper things, and that breeze will be particularly strong on Sunday. The chance of gales around exposed western and northern coasts, and an area of rain moves in from the west, not quite reaching the east of Scotland or eastern England, but some heavy downpours towards the west, along with a gusty breeze. And then the area of low pressure responsible for that sticks around into the start of next week, bringing an unsettled period.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be